Hello Australia and welcome to the BAP. It is the 1st of October. First day of spring. Not really the first day of spring, but I'm just putting it out there.
It was pretty spring-like. It was warm out there.
It's the first really spring-like day we've had in quite some time. But my name is Franco. Joining me, Dean and Jason. I pointed at them, but
Hello.
that makes for bad radio. Poor
Does make
radio.
for bad radio. So I was a little shocked that Richmond won the AFL Grand Final on Saturday.
I really enjoyed it. I was going for the
I
underdog.
enjoyed the first half. I was going for the underdog. I was going for Richmond as well, but I had no real skin in the game.
No one had any skin in the game. But at the same time, I went in. We went to the city and we had some drinks with Scoot, and he always puts on some prizes. And I was the only person that backed Adelaide to win by any reasonable margin. Everyone else backed Richmond, and I was like, I have got these prizes. They are so mine.
So the first half was looking good for you.
Yeah, well,
Halfway through the second quarter, actually, was
Yeah.
when it turned.
but it really didn't. By the end of it, no.
Not even close.
Yeah, really, really interesting game of football. Richmond's first grand final win, I think, in 37 years.
Yes, their first AFL grand final
Yeah.
victory. I had a very nano approach in who I was picking for to be the winner. So obviously not having any skin in the game, I was very much, now, Adelaide Crows have had their fair share in this decade. Now we want to be fair. And
Share it around.
poor Richmond, haven't won one 37 years. They got my vote on
Did
that.
you see the photos of Jack Rewalt storming the stage when the Killers were playing after the game and grabbing the mic?
No.
I saw something about that in the news. I didn't think it warranted my attention to actually read the
Oh,
article.
no, it's very odd. I was actually surprised they picked the Killers to play the grand final. Normally, I mean, it's at least it's a rock band, I guess.
I assume John Farnham wasn't available.
Or Angry Anderson.
I would
Who do
love
they
it.
normally get? It's normally a Jimmy Barnes or
They
something.
don't.
like
No,
that.
they should, but they don't. I would be happy if they had Cold Chisel or the Angels, or like that would be great if they had like
Just Tina
old cool
Turner one
Australian
year, I
bands.
think.
That's the rugby, Jason.
Yes,
that was the
is it?
rugby.
They had their
This is
own
how
problems
attached
with
this-
performing acts,
Yeah,
going beyond the realm of sport, and going into the foray of politics. A lot of people got their nose out of joint, Jason.
yeah.
Did they?
Macklemore is
Oh,
playing
Macklemore.
today.
Actually, I saw a tweet. Someone it was I hope those kids hope those parents shielded their kids from Macklemore just in time to see the the blatant racism or something that's in the crowd.
Well, I mean, it's originally the NRL had said that this decision had nothing to do with the same-sex marriage debate. They booked this in way in advance.
Yeah.
And then later in their piece, they started describing it as their bravest decision to date. And it's like, which one is it, buddy? Which?
Yeah, you gotta own one or the other.
Yeah, you gotta play the hey, we just booked a guy we didn't really know card, or you gotta play the no, fuck it, we're all about the gay marriage. But at least either way, it'd be better than Meatloaf, who played the AFL Grand Final a couple of years back and couldn't sing.
Really?
Yeah, that was atrocious. Yeah, there were
Why
lots.
couldn't he sing? He's a bit sad. Meatloaf.
His voice was going. Did he collapse on stage at that point, or was it a different show where he
I think it
collapsed
was
on
a
stage?
different show where he collapsed.
Oh my god.
Meatloaf's old now, man. Like,
I know, but you know.
Well into his 60s, his style of singing is very energetic, to say the least. I don't think it lends itself to his physical condition as it is present.
No, fair enough. Anyway, that's not
So
even
this-
really the douchebag filter. That's just the pre-douchebag
This is my
filter.
one exposure to AFL for the entire year was going to someone's house to watch the grand final. That's pretty much
Yeah,
it
fair
for
enough.
this year.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't
first
think I
game-
even made it to the pub to watch a game during the season. I just didn't do it at all.
That was the first game I watched for the whole year.
I watched Collingwood at the start of the year and stopped.
And then stopped at some point.
Well, I
I
support
got disappointed.
the Fremantle Dockers, and they haven't been playing so well the last couple of years. So I applied if they haven't won 3 games in a row rule, I don't watch their performances.
Right.
So I mean, I had pretty much a pass out for the whole year because they didn't win 3 games in a row.
They were in the grand final the year before, right? Not last year. The one before.
A couple of years back.
Yeah. Okay.
They're really teasing their fans, aren't they? They're not. They're a hard team to be a fan of.
Indeed.
They make you work for it.
I mean, I'm a fan by mere of the virtue that I have an affinity with the
Fremantle.
the town they represent.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
That's, what's
That's
come
as
down
good a
to now.
reason.
Now it's like I don't even really like the football club. I just like
Or
the
is
town
it,
itself.
Dean goes for Collingwood simply because it pisses people off in general, pretty much. Which was the same reason I adopted them as a club
I
at
don't
one
know.
point.
I think maybe that was Dean's initial reason for choosing the team, but it's gone well beyond that.
No,
the
I
continued support.
It's
of,
still up there. there are a number of reasons why
I stand corrected,
support
sir.
Collingwood. One, obviously I'm from the Perth Hills Swan Districts, being my local waffle club, black and white. but it also happens to piss people off, which is not a downside. It's enjoyable when people get angry about football.
And there's no team more polarizing than Collingwood.
Yeah.
And they're always got a lot of money and backing behind them, so they're always in contention to win a grand final at some stage.
Yeah, well, I know, and also we've got Eddie Maguire, who's a very polarizing figure.
Yeah. Dean's such a Collingwood fan, he couldn't bring himself to even hate Eddie Maguire.
I did this year when he re-signed Nathan Buckley. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
That upset me. That needed to change.
Okay.
We re-signed Bucks for a couple of years.
So how many years has he been coaching?
Since 2011, so 6 years now. This is
So
6
he's
years.
had a fair crack at it, right?
He's had a fair crack at it. We went to the Premiership Grand Final in his first year, obviously on the back of the win under Mick Malthouse. Didn't win 2011, and since then it's been a slow decline towards the plug hole.
Okay.
But this year we've also brought my all-time favourite player, Nick Maxwell, back as an assistant coach. So Maxi and Bucks historically don't talk to each other, so that should be interesting. But I'm hoping we're going to get Maxi on as an actual coach.
Dysfunctional management?
Yeah, maybe. When he was actually captain of the team, Maxwell was a defender. He was a defender.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. Okay. Maybe. Bucks was a captain back in 2005, 2006. Maxwell was the captain from about... I don't even know. He retired, I think, 2010, maybe 2011. Maybe he actually played under Bucks as a coach. I don't remember when Maxi retired.
Okay.
But he always led from the defensive line. Like he was always sort of like a commander on the field. So it'd be good to see him back. So look, things are looking up for Collingwood-ish. We'll see. I'm not saying we're going to get in the grand final next year. I'm not going to say that. But yeah, good times.
Well,
I watched Cleverman, Frank.
You've watched episode 3?
Episodes 2 and 3.
Jason?
I let the team down this week. I haven't watched episode 3. I watched. Hey, chill. All right. I'm gonna provide
You're gonna
colour
back
commentary.
that chill up with something?
I'm gonna provide colour commentary a la the way Dean did last week without having actually watched the show.
All right.
Yeah. It works well.
So aside from Jason's poor effort, we can continue on with the description of
By all
episode
means.
3.
What do you think is going on with Lord Friendzone playing both sides?
Don't know yet. I mean, taking a step back from that, though, I felt that today's episode was... Well, sorry, episode 3 was getting a lot more deeper than the first two. I found it stepped up the game.
The pace is getting stronger, and there's more stuff going on. And that, are we going to do full spoilers, or are we going to not do full spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Spoilers.
so, and at the very end of the episode, because the episode starts out with Waro in a bath reviewing some footage he took when he broke into one of the asylum seekers,
The containment authority.
containment facilities, and it ended with him reviewing the footage, and then you see it's from his camera where he snaps a guy's neck, one of the guards.
Oh wow!
Well, you're always aware that he had to film what you didn't.
You didn't know how the guard died, though.
Yes, the scene opens up that they've broken into the containment authority, which he hinted at in the previous episodes that was his plan to sort of expose what was happening by
video
breaking
footage
in
and
video
photos,
footaging. So the beginning
This is
of the,
Waru, yeah.
Yeah.
So Waro and Harry have broken in, and the plan starts coming undone where Harry couldn't go past...
Immediately goes off book.
Yes, to release...
They're talking
some-
about their plan up front. Warry's like, right, we're just going in and take photos. Harry's like, I think we should break people out. Warry's like, hey, look at me. Look at me. We're not doing that. They get inside. Harry's like, I'm breaking people out.
And then the...
Well, he's a freedom fighter, right?
Yeah.
He's the real deal.
Well, and he is confronted by, his own people going, let me out. I know the code. Just open the door. You don't have to do anything more.
No, I get it. You can't. It's be a difficult thing to walk away from.
Well, that was okay, but then one of the main guest characters, Dujuko,
The son of the guys that were captured. Yep.
decides to not just immediately escape, but go looking for his father, and that's where he runs into the sadistic guard and gets shot, and it cuts from the scene where the guard's standing over Dujuko. I'm getting that wrong, but and sort of semi-torturing him, and then we go into the rest of the episode. All we know is that they've all been broken out. The guard's dead. We're not.
Which guard? Just
the
a
sadistic
The
guard.
annoying
guard.
one, the lead
Right.
guy.
So
We don't know how he died, but he's dead.
This is interesting. I'm just going to ask because at the moment I'm still up in the air as to Waru's ultimate motivations. Right. So he snaps the guard's neck. Not because he had to break them out, but because the guard had seen him or something. Why did that happen? Why did that happen?
It's not portrayed that simplistic.
Isn't it?
We're not really.
You still don't know. Like there's
You don't
footage
know
missing.
why that guy
So
died.
You see that point with the guard standing over him. Then the credits roll with the awesome title music, and then it comes back and they're carrying injured Dejouko out to the car with a gunshot wound, and you don't know what happened. And then the episode goes on, and then you see the very end where at the end of the footage, when he's looking at his footage, you see him grab the guard from behind, and he's got him in a headlock, and then he just jumps up and snaps his neck. But you don't see what happened to make them get into an altercation.
Yeah. And you don't, I mean, basically he's highly charged, not highly charged, but he's highly emotive. So maybe seeing the scene of oppression sort of spurred him on. They've got a lot of ways they can play as to why he decided to kill the guard.
Yeah.
So there were reasons.
Well, and then, this is the bit I was talking about before. There's a scene a little later on when Lord Friendzone calls his mate, who I don't think we've seen before, but who is working for the company that's doing the guarding. He seems to be the head of the guards in overseeing the zone, and who are basically CEOs in the prison. And he calls him up, and he's like, we've got a problem. These guys have escaped. There's some guards missing, and they have this conversation needing to handle it. And then he goes and kicks everyone out of the room, gets a Bowie knife, and cuts this guy's chest open, pulls the heart out, so it looks like a similar killing to the other killings.
Oh, right. That Lord Friendzone does that.
No, Lord Friendzone calls his mate and has his mate do it.
Has his mate do it. Fuck. Okay.
So you're like, oh, I thought Lord Friendzone was a friend of the zone, but it turns out he's playing everybody.
Wow. Was there any more elaboration on the woman that was broken out of the black site?
Yes.
The laboratory, the lab. Yeah.
There was
not a lot of detail,
but get this right.
Yeah.
Cohen, who could talk to her in the dreaming. In fact, in this episode, it gets louder and louder and he has to break her out. Or maybe that was episode 2. I forget. But once he's broken her out and she's conscious, she can't talk and he can't connect to her via the dreaming. When he touches her, shit goes crazy. He sees like this star field and then a couple of other images flash up and then it's back to another shot of the stars. And then he gets kicked across the room by telekinetic powers and he's unconscious.
Force feedback.
Yeah. So, and then later on, she straddles him and then turns into an old woman.
Giddy up.
No.
Oh.
And then, yeah.
Does the Melisandre.
There's a Lady Melisandre moment. And then
did we touch on your predilection?
He squirms out.
Whoa!
So look, a lot happened.
I'm glad you gave me that as a spoiler. That's going to be...
A lot happened. But, and obviously they take the gunshot wounded son to the med facility in the zone run by Lord Friendzone's wife.
Okay. Who we assume at the moment is fairly benign figure.
Yeah, she seems still to be.
She may not be privy to all of Lord Friendzone's activities.
And the other sort of major development was the mother of the family that was abducted. Yeah. She's now a prostitute.
Huh?
Yeah, she got abducted by that woman who was like trying to find a Harry. Turns out she's a brothel madam. In what was for me the least interesting development in the story.
Okay, but that's you know what that's entirely predictable.
Yeah.
That there's a market for that. Absolutely.
Oh, and you know who the market is?
Lord Friendzone?
The immigration minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's about everything I think.
Giddy up. Dutton's got a thing for...
Yeah. Well, it wasn't Potato.
Oh, no. Just someone who looks awfully similar. Sorry.
Well...
No, I know.
Yeah. He was more of a
I can't remember his name. I had it noted down last time. Okay, I'll look forward to watching that one.
Best episode yet. It was really well put together. Well shot. The only thing that let it down still is a bit of the sometimes sketchy acting from time to time, but I suppose that's to do with budget. It's only 3 episodes in. I suppose it's hard to get.
It's a fairly big cast too.
It is.
So, you're going to have some hits.
It's getting better though. There was only a couple of rough edges in the acting, but other than that,
there's a couple of really interesting sort of, for me at least, there was an interesting moment where Cohen went to see Waru's mum. And she was totally cool with him. But Waru is not cool with Cohen. And then when Waru comes home to visit his mum, he doesn't even talk to her. He walks past her. She's on the stairs having a cigarette. And she says, have you got a hug for your mum? And he just walks in after murdering someone and then straight into the bathtub, like takes all his gear off, just sits in the bathtub and freaks out a bit. But there's some interesting family stuff going on too.
That's interesting because in episode 2, now that you've just clarified what the mother of that hairy family has been sent off to do, they just executed two other hairy women for just being there and not being chosen.
Yeah,
they just got flat out executed for that situation. Whoa.
I find that aspect of the story
seems a little
confusing.
bit jarring, doesn't it?
If you're going to kill 2, why not just kill everyone and don't have a hairy problem in your containment site.
yeah.
Why are you tolerating bad behaviour on, well, what would be considered just, you know, a pain in the ass to deal with when you're happy to go and just on the spot?
See, this is the kind of argument a Nazi would make, Frank.
Well,
We're trying
Why
to
are we locking them up when we could just shoot him right in the head? There's no problem.
I like to see some consistency in a TV. It's the world they've created. Why can't they be consistent within it?
Yeah, you need internal consistency. This bugs me about TV shows all the time.
Yeah. And we could step onto another show afterwards, which I know you got some strong opinions about.
What's that?
The new Star Trek.
Oh, I hated it.
I wasn't quite so polarized.
So morbidly disappointed from the start of that first episode to the end of the second one.
really?
The opening scene, just that set the tone for me, and I was so enraged. It opens with these two people walking in a desert, lost. The ship can't find them. Can't get
Big
people.
sandstorm
There's a
coming.
fucking sandstorm approaching, and there's clouds all through the sky. And the captain's giving her some bullshit philosophy, and she's like, "Remember to make sure you walk your feet in my feet, so they can't fucking find we're leaving direct. I don't know, for whatever reason, to make our footprints more noticeable from fucking space, because they're walking in a Federation logo that's visible from space."
You haven't watched it, have you?
I have.
Oh, you have.
I didn't pay too much attention to that part.
There's some things I liked about it in that they're taking a darker tone than your regular Star Trek.
And they're using less lighting in general.
So darker
Everything's
and darker.
dark.
Yeah. And they seem to be like, because they had what was going to happen on this season, and they seem to be departing from the whole episodic. Like Voyager did. The reason Deep Space Nine was better is because they didn't do it. They had more ongoing
had story
arcs as
arcs.
well.
You know, here's the thing they're also doing,
and they
though.
seem to be doing that in this as well.
They're following basically one character.
Yes.
They're not. It's not an ensemble cast so much anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where I had a problem with this, because the protagonist they've selected is completely A, unsuited to be an officer, and B, unlikable. The very first scene with her, she's like, "I'll just go outside in this radiation suit. You've got a minute and a half or you might die. It'll be fine. I'll just do a fly past and then I'll come right back." Gets out there. This is pretty. I'm going to go inside. No, you said a fly past. Why are you landing on it? Why are you taking a look at anything? You fucking said fly past or you will die from radiation. You dumb fucking Vulcan person.
It's not very Vulcan of her, was it?
No,
Well,
just
she's not Vulcan at all.
No, but she was raised by
raised
Vulcans.
Vulcan,
Human
yes.
raised by Vulcans.
I found it annoying that Sarek was available on tap immediately.
yeah, he answered the phone, 0 rings. He also sat on a desk in her office when he was a hologram. Well, like he's on the fucking phone? Was he just sitting in a chair?
He
and
was,
he's-
actually, he wasn't really a hologram, was he? Was that the one where he appeared? He was actually in her mind or something to some extent. It was weird. It wasn't like...
At a
it
later
was-
point, yeah, but
Yeah, oh, that's a different scene, yeah. It's getting him mixed up between actually holograms and whether it's actually just in their head, which is what the second one was.
yeah, I don't know, man. Everything was really dark, and the only character I even remotely liked was the cowardly,
Saru,
the guy who was a... Yeah, he was like, our people are eating for meat, and therefore we can sense death.
who's a Kelpine.
Kelpine. Okay.
You know what is a problem with him, though? Where the fuck are the rest of the Calpines in Kirk era and beyond? They keep doing this with prequels. They're like, "Oh, and there's these people you've never seen before,
Yeah,
and you never see again."
I think the fact that they completely changed the way the Klingons look, and
I wouldn't mind.
I think they, you just have to let certain things go.
That's okay. The problem with the way they changed the way the Klingons look is because of all the fucking prosthetic teeth in people's mouths. They all spoke with a lisp, and they couldn't speak very fast. So you had
can't
this
speak
really
fast at all.
slow
Oh, it was
talking
painful.
Klingons, all speaking Klingon with subtitles, really fucking slowly. I kept just like browsing Reddit during those scenes. I didn't care. And the actors had so much makeup on, they couldn't really make facial expressions, which made it worse. And they had such big armor pieces and ridiculous arm things that they couldn't even really move their arms around. They were the worst Klingons I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, yeah, it seemed like they were all on anesthetics because traditionally the Klingons are very emotive, especially
Yeah.
in the way they speak. Even when they're speaking Klingon, they're very emotive in the pronunciations and
Yeah,
so
well,
forth.
that's, I think because the actors couldn't move under the costumes properly. So I thought that was a bit of a letdown. The Starfleet uniforms were a little gold and the silver and stuff were just like, what rank is anyone? I couldn't tell what department or rank.
The computer generated effects were pretty cool.
They were great. They were great.
It looked good. It looked very good.
There were a lot of lens flares, and there was a lot of crazy crooked angles
I'm
on
well
shots.
over lens flares. I don't get bothered by lens flares like other people do.
It seems to have a lot of DNA from the Star Trek movies. I guess they're trying to bring in that audience, but I guess we'll see how it goes for them. See how it goes. I'm not watching anymore. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
I'm out.
Hey.
I might at the end of the season take a look. The hassle they've got with this show maybe it's not too big a hassle. Within America, it's on CBS All Access.
Yeah.
It's a separate streaming station that you have to pay for, and this is the flagship product for that station. There is no way I would pay for a streaming service.
Yeah, because I watched a couple of recaps where they were talking about it, and that came up specifically was the fact that it's so limited the way you can get it in the US that if it doesn't go well, people aren't going to buy that access. They simply aren't going to get it.
Yeah.
Whereas it's available on Netflix in
everywhere else
and stuff like that. So
they made enough bank selling it to Netflix to cover the production costs.
Right.
So maybe it won't matter if it doesn't do well in America. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh well.
Guess we'll see. There were other issues with that show, by the way. That court scene at the end, which is cloaked in darkness. She has no fucking advocate. She can't see her accusers.
It's a complete tonal shift from.
But it's not even representative of a court in a democratic society, like a current, like modern day.
No. What I mean is that they seem to have a complete tonal shift of the Federation from what it was.
Yeah.
It's like J.J. Abrams' reboot of Star Trek has a different Federation as well.
Those movies never happened for me. They were so terrible.
Oh, I thought the first one was fantastic.
They were awful
Second one I didn't think was that great.
I thought the first one was good fun.
Yeah.
The rest have been crap.
You know, the problem with J.J. Abrams is he does stuff that's all right, and then he does stuff like Lost or the Star Trek films, which is just like, well, why? What the fuck is this shit? What is the point of it all?
I really liked the first one, actually. I thought that was such a promise. I thought that was one of the best reboots I'd ever seen.
See,
He did. He rebooted, then shut it all down.
Shut it down immediately.
The second one, though, was the world's biggest waste of Benedict Cumberbatch in a film ever.
You didn't even say his name right.
Yeah, it was just crap.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Bend the fuck over.
I remember
the Star Trek film. The Klingons are picking up their dead at the end of the fight, and the Federation guys are like, "Oh, our ship's fucked.
Let's just attach a bomb to one of them.
Beam a mine onto a fucking corpse, and then just take out people as they're looking after the dead." That's a war crime, and no human would be okay with that. Everyone would be like, "Well, it's against what was the Geneva Convention back in the day, so maybe we shouldn't do it now in space."
Well,
I think it's a different federation. I don't think they're aiming at the same kind of federation. Because let's face it, the other federation was a bunch of cucks, right? They were useless. They were always peace at all costs, blah blah blah. And really, they came up against warlike races, and it simply probably wouldn't have worked.
But in this one, when the Klingons are like, they always say we come in peace, but they lie. Well, they're not wrong. Klingons had a point. Takuma, Mr. Hoover, whatever his name was.
One minor point. Takuva
decides
he's going to summon all the Klingon clans to come. This is going to be the definitive moment. Definitive moment to reignite the passion of the Klingon Empire. Gets the job half done. Sends the rest home. Going to collect bodies. Not going to finish off the stragglers. Job half done. That pissed me off.
It was a bit odd.
There was a few other bits that were weird from a Klingon perspective. The use of a cloaked ship to ram what seemed to be completely superfluous to the story, the USS Europa.
The flagship
admiral shows up and he's like, "We want to talk." And the Klingon's like, "Yeah, we can talk. You wait and see how we talk." And then this cloaked ship smashes through the bow of his ship, and then the humans activate their self-destruct for fuck knows why.
Well, the ship was ruined. I mean, it was smashed. The ship was completely smashed.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was quite an interesting effect. You had a cloaked ship basically cleaving through the middle of another
Except for two things. One, you have a cloaked ship, so your shields are down. Two, flagship coming into a war zone. Shields are up, Jason. Cloaked ship comes in. It would just hit the shields. It wouldn't actually make an impact with the hull, yet they would know something's there.
I feel you know more about Federation technology than maybe...
They even have fucking consultants on the show to make sure they don't violate any of the canon. They just left and right violating...
Gene Roddenberry's dead.
Yeah,
they don't have to. They don't have to obey that shit anymore.
I'm glad he's dead and you didn't have to watch that shit.
Okay.
It was awful. Nobody out there watch it.
But Orville's pretty good.
Which I've yet to see, but
Orville was yet again a decent episode.
Yeah.
Not
what was it?
Not
was the fourth?
Not as good. Yeah, episode 4. Episode 3 is still a high watermark, but this episode had Liam Neeson in it.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So
just out of nowhere, Liam Neeson.
Well, yeah, Liam Neeson was in it. That was
Does
cool.
he do a good job?
Yeah.
He's Liam Neeson.
He's Liam Neeson. He's a very special set of skills.
He doesn't do anything like I'm gonna find you and kill you kind of thing. Yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah,
but
it's like a log entry of a guy that passed away like hundreds of years ago.
yeah, it's
Actually,
a bit of a throwaway. I
millions of
wonder
years
if that's all he's gonna do whether he pops. It just seems weird that they get Liam Neeson in for such a throwaway part.
Well, maybe Liam loves Star Trek.
Well, that could be it. Yeah, could be. They find a generation ship.
Rob Lowe was in the pilot. The alien with the blue thing. In the one who's sleeping with his wife.
Was that Rob Lowe?
That was Rob Lowe in face makeup. Like, Orville has reasonable guest stars on a semi-regular basis of the nature that Star Trek would never have
I had
achieved.
no idea that was Rob Lowe. Well, you wouldn't, would you?
No, yeah, no.
Blue face.
His blue face and like all these prosthetics. But
Mostly under a sheets.
Yeah.
On other TV viewing news, I watched something. Well, Saturday night, as I typically do, I search Netflix, Google Play, trying to decide upon something I want to watch. And I'm very discerning, so I spend 2 hours just scrolling through stuff.
Yeah, Netflix needs music while I'm browsing.
No.
Yeah.
But
the amount of time that passes.
I jumped onto SBS iView, or whatever their equivalent is, and I decided to watch Atlanta.
Oh, it's really good.
An award-winning series. Yeah, binge watched the first 3 episodes, and I was really impressed.
Oh, wow.
Atlanta's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Donald Glover, a.k.a. Childish Gambino. I loved him on Community when he was on that, and then he became a musician and followed him since then. Atlanta is not like that. It's actually quite dark in places, but it has its moments where it's quite funny.
So basically, it follows the daily life of the main character, Ern, played by Donald Glover. He's currently in a dead-end job, broke, living between his parents and his ex-girlfriend Van's house, and his cousin is on the precipice of finding fame, so he's decided to try and leech onto him as his manager, and that's basically as far as I've got in these first 3 episodes. But sort of, I'm guessing, trying to give you a touch of what black life is like in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's really good. I recommend that show. I didn't realize you guys
he won an award recently for that, didn't he?
Yeah. His second season's due out soon too.
Yeah.
He's a talented kid.
Indeed.
He's no longer doing his Childish Gambino stuff, apparently, though. He's giving that away or something.
He, much like Damon Albarn's from Blur, he doesn't actually like being around people. So, as a musician, that's quite confronting, being on stage in front of thousands of people. He's agoraphobia, whatever it is. Like, he doesn't like people in large spaces and stuff. Yeah, doesn't like the attention. So, it was almost shocking when he was becoming a musician for such a long period of time. I was wondering how he's going to keep it up.
Yeah.
That's why probably he sort of portrays failure in Atlanta so well.
Probably.
That's all I've got for douchebaggery.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I'm good to go on to the real show.
Let's news it up.
So, Jason, you brought a lot of stories with you today.
I brought none.
Our favourite pair of eyebrows, ex-Prime Minister, 3-time Prime Minister, John Howard, decided to reach out to us good folk, the people, in a one-page advert that I saw in the West Australian.
Yeah,
I assume he had it in other papers around the country. I'm a bit late. I think a significant portion of Australia have submitted their survey back to the Australian Bureau of Statistics in regards to what their feelings are on same-sex marriage. But he's come out, guns are blazing.
Not really come out. It's a bad choice of words.
That would be awesome if he had.
He's come out to ram it down our throats.
Is his wife's name Janet? I don't know how Janet Howard. Anyway, I don't know how she'd take it.
So, I read it. It was a lengthy prose. I couldn't quite get my head around what his point was, but from what I could glean...
I'd like to point out this was coordinated by the Australian Christian Lobby as well.
I'm not surprised.
The ACL.
Something along the lines that his point was that people on the no side were going to accept a yes vote. However, the people on the yes side wouldn't accept the no vote.
No, they fucking won't.
Yeah,
somehow,
and to be fair, by insisting that they have religious protections that allow them to treat gays differently to straight people, they're not accepting a yes vote either. They're asking for special treatment under the law. Okay, you can have gay marriage, but I'm still allowed to be a cunt. That's my condition. That's my condition. If I can be a cunt, you too can get married.
It's a weird sort of... It's a weird equivalence where they're saying someone's right to hold their own religious views is enough to impact someone else's life entirely. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's a weird situation.
Actually, there's a new church that sprung up, the Church of Astrolabe. I don't know if you've heard about it, but their religious belief is it's okay to headbutt Tony Abbott. So that's a genuinely held religious belief, Jason. Genuinely held religious belief.
It's an important belief, and we have to respect it.
We have to respect their right to headbutt Tony Abbott.
I had my own little view of the no vote this week. Driving down Tonkin Highway at 8 o'clock in the morning, taking someone to work, and 2 mornings in a row, at 8 o'clock in the morning, there's people up on a footbridge across the top with "It's okay to say no" banners. I'm going like, like this is where I can understand someone holding the no view. I can actually understand that to some extent. Being exercised enough to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go and hold a banner over a freeway for the no vote, I don't know where that comes from. That just seems really weird to me. That's like, yeah.
Well, the whole marketing campaign of "it's okay to vote no." So basically, they're saying, right, you feel horrible about the way you want to vote.
They're acknowledging that there's something wrong with voting, though, and they're saying it's okay, but they're still trying to sell you on it being okay. It might feel
a little bit like you're being a bigot, but it's okay.
Sometimes racism feels, sometimes bigotry feels a little bit weird, and you should just, it's a bit yucky, but it's okay. Embrace it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting at least that Howard acknowledged the fact that this isn't going away by saying, look, the yes voters, if they don't get it up, the ALP and the Greens are going to bring it up when they win government next term if they do.
Of course.
I think it's fair. I mean, that is going to happen.
I think it's a good admission, the fact that they're coming to terms with the idea that it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Them kicking the can down the road with this stupid...
You could delay it if you want.
It doesn't matter.
We can drag you into the future if we have to.
The people that have been fighting for this cause for so long are not going to give it away because you guys knocked them back again.
No.
Well, let's not forget, it's Captain Eyebrow's fault in the first place we have this issue because he, without going to a referendum or a plebiscite or a survey, as Campbell's done, just put up a amendment bill to change the Marriage Act.
Well, technically it was Philip Ruddock, who is a monumental cunt.
Well, I'm sure he was in league. That Bellin was in league with the other Bellin.
I don't doubt that Howard probably didn't have a problem with it, but I'd like to highlight at least
one Bellend with the approval of another Bellend.
Well,
submitted a certain
in degrees of Bellendry, Philip Ruddock is a lot of a bigger Bellend than Howard.
All right, okay.
He was all involved with the Pacific solution, like all of the bullshit we're still dealing with as a country.
But that's all. But at the end of the day, John Howard was the Prime Minister, the leader of the coalition, and ultimately responsible for what his ministers propose in Parliament. Surely.
He was definitely involved. He might not be responsible. It's like saying Malcolm Turnbull is responsible for what Peter Dutton proposes.
I don't think they're putting any bills forward without talking to Johnny Boy first.
Surely John Howard gets to see those bills.
The one thing the Liberal Party have is their used to have was their unity and they were on message.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They had that. The left doesn't seem to be able to hold on message very often.
I don't remember any speeches.
But those guys certainly do.
I don't remember any speeches by the Eyebrows suggesting that he disagreed with any of these sort of legislations being put forward or voting upon.
No.
I wouldn't say they necessarily have that unity nowadays. They've had all sorts of problems within their ranks,
which is why we have a survey.
But under John Howard, it was his show. It was definitely his show.
Well, unless he was trying to bowl a cricket ball. One thing I thought was interesting about the article this is one of my things I brought. I figured it would be something we talk about. He also took aim at Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act.
Yeah, because that's relevant.
Highlighting how the current government's inability to change that is indicative of, we can't necessarily trust federal MPs to provide adequate religious protections. Therefore, you should vote no because they're not showing you the protections they're going to put forwards. They can't get existing protections put through. It was almost like John Howard saying, these guys are incompetent. This Liberal Party, I don't know what these guys are about.
Yeah.
What did he...
This ain't your granddaddy's Liberal Party.
Yeah.
That was my Liberal Party.
Yeah, and where are their eyebrows?
It's almost sounding like the same sort of issues that get brought up with daylight savings. Did he suggest that the cows won't be able to get to sleep, or the farmers will have to wake up extra early, the curtains will fade?
I'm anti-daylight savings.
I think we've been over this before.
Let's not get into that.
This is just a circular argument.
But the point is, my point is...
just get up whenever the fuck you want. I don't care if you want to get up early. Get up early.
But yeah, it seems like the no side are very desperate to bring in issues, not necessarily of a direct relevancy to the issue at hand that's being surveyed upon. I can't say voted upon anymore because there's not votes. Rather, people keep on pointed it out to me. It's not a vote.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting, the responses from various coalition members to the advert. Matthias
Cormann.
came out in defence of Howard, saying, look, it's his right under freedom of speech to put his views forwards, and that's okay. Everyone has the right to have their say, which I always find interesting because the Liberal Party, they're very happy to condemn the rugby for getting Macklemore in until it's pointed out it's freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I saw Erica Betts getting roasted over that on TV this morning, which is glorious. But also George Brandis taking the counterpoint to Howard, saying, this is ridiculous. We're asking a simple question. Should it be legal, yes or no? And if it gets up, then we'll have a members' bill and there'll be the debate around what we're going to put into that. But why waste time doing that if we don't know if it's going to get up or not? And more to the point, Australians are.
But that's an argument you can make for any bill they propose. Oh, let's do a plebiscite before we do any bill. You know what I mean?
You know what?
It's a silly argument.
It doesn't cost 122 million.
Yeah,
to put a bill up.
They could do this cheaper.
They could do this cheaper.
Just put it up, have the discussion.
I think Brandis is right when he says, look, the existing bill we had come up from Dean Smith had religious protections. The bill we put forwards will be something like that.
Does this mean we do one of these surveys every time there's a contentious bill to come forward? Every time?
Well, if Malcolm Turnbull's Prime Minister, yes, obviously.
yeah. It's just fucking ridiculous.
He's not capable of even acting as a weather vane. He doesn't know which way the wind is blowing. He's going to have to take a $122 million survey to work that out so he can keep his job. Yeah. Actually, I imagine once Tony Abbott retires from politics, we probably won't have this issue. It's Tony that's doing this to everybody.
So if only that Tasmanian tool had actually disabled him significantly with his headbutt. In other words, if he'd got a better grip on Tony and actually done it properly. He expressed his dissatisfaction with the headbutt that he gave, and we can all agree, if you were going to do it, you should have made it worthwhile.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it would shut Tony up. And if anything, I think, when acts of violence don't necessarily draw people to your cause. They generally push them towards the people who are being victimised.
Well, pushes Tony Abbott further away from...
people towards Tony. Like, if Tony's actually being bullied and victimised, I could see large sections of society going, you know what, that's not okay.
Oh.
Maybe we have a plebiscite about it.
I think there's quite a few...
survey.
I think there's
see if it's okay.
There's probably quite a few people that move towards Astrolabes. What's his full name?
Astrolabe.
Astrolabe something, though.
No, Astro.
Labe. Okay. I think a few people moved towards his church, didn't they?
I've made that up. There's not actually a church.
There could be a church.
Well, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
If we decide we have to respect people's religious beliefs, then maybe a church will spring up around our benevolent Hobart DJ's shaven head.
What's next on the agenda, lads?
My next one, I've got international news. Have you got anything?
I've got social commentary, so we might want to leave that till the end.
All right. Well, this is kind of... So, anyway. So, there's been several busloads of Spanish National Police shipped into Barcelona and the surrounding region today because Catalonia was going to attempt to hold a referendum on independence. Now, these cops have come in and they've given the people who are occupying the polling stations until 6 a.m. local time, which is probably already past now, and my news is out of date. It's definitely for the people listening to the show out of date. But so they've been busted and they've given these people till 6 a.m. or they're going to storm the buildings. Some of these buildings include, like any polling station would be a school.
Most of them are schools, I believe. Yeah.
So they're threatening to lay siege to these schools, which are occupied by the parents and some of the children and the teachers. Not a good look. But so that's potentially going to happen. And there are threats on individuals that they could face a fine of up to 300,000 euros for trying to interfere as they seize the ballot papers. The current polling shows that support for independence is at around 40%, although most Catalans agree that they want to have a vote to settle this. But I'm a little concerned at the idea of essentially foreign troops being sent into a region to occupy it.
So what if we had... if WA was expressing a sentiment to secede,
Yep, I have in the past expressed a sentiment to
Yeah.
secede.
and they sent Victorians in to police us.
They probably would. Not
You
Victorians.
know, it wouldn't matter
but-
actually because we've got so many POMs over here already in the police force. It's like we've got foreign. It's like there's a
Yeah.
foreign occupying group anyway. So
I just
not
think
sure it'd be a
if
big
a
deal.
region's holding a debate on independence, and you, as the government of Madrid, happen to disagree with them, maybe you should just let them peacefully have their little referendum. And when they go, "We secede," you say, "No, you don't."
let's work this out.
Don't even send the troops in. There's like, "Yeah, we're leaving." You go, no. You don't have the authority to do that. I think they, at the end of the day, if they want to be independent, the Catalans have been wanting independence for a long time, like a long time, and they're probably going to continue to push for it.
I don't know. I'm not sure they want to set this because there's also been a Basque separatist state
I think they've got a
They've
few
settled-
regions who want to.
Yeah.
that want to
Separate.
bail out. So if this happens,
They've settled down a bit these days, Basque.
Yeah, they've come to some sort of truce.
Yeah, they've come to some sort of agreement.
there's some
power
some
sharing
kind of
and semi-independence thing.
yeah, self
Determination.
determination. Yeah, yeah, I agree. You let them have their referendum. I mean, this isn't the point at which you would send in. I don't.
I mean, from one aspect, I understand because there's something like 7.5 million people in Catalan, and Barcelona's probably one of the major tourist attractions within Spain.
I'm just looking at.
Economically, probably one of the major powers in Spain.
I'm looking
the
at some
region.
live YouTube feeds with the headings: polls open for Catalonia independence. Live clashes between Spanish police and Catalonian independence.
Yeah,
So there's probably a bit going on right now.
I don't doubt it. This is how civil wars start. You send an occupying force of foreign, from a different state or region in to occupy. People rebel, and it's not like the Spanish don't have a history of civil wars, and
Spanish.
it's not like it was even that long ago.
They know how to hold a civil war. They know how to hold one.
And this is kind of how you do it.
Yeah.
And there's every chance that they would have had the referendum and it would have just lost. It was polling at 40%. You could have just let it happen, like England did with Scotland. Just run a campaign where you're like, you should stay.
Hey.
I mean, if you don't stay, you would be outside the EU. Wouldn't that be terrible? Right, you staying? We're out of the EU. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's right. There's possibly Spain might want to leave itself if
Yeah.
the EU starts pushing austerity measures on them even harder than they already are.
Well, and the interesting part about all of this is the EU probably wouldn't accept Catalan in if Spain don't recognise their independence. I don't know what would happen.
Spain's what, the third biggest economy or something like that in the EU? It's
Yeah.
huge. So yeah, I mean they've got a bit of pull. They've definitely got a bit of sway. Maybe the third, especially after the UK is now Brexiting.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Probably, yeah, now that they're gone. But also, with Brexit going on, the EU can't really... They don't want to lose Spain. If they were like, okay, Catalan, you can come in. Spain's like, we're leaving.
And this is one of the things the EU were talking about when Greek was expressing their interest in leaving the EU. Was if the EU let Greece leave, Spain was also making that kind of noise, and they were thinking Greece could go. We could deal with that. But Spain's a massive economy, and it's I guess this Catalan thing is creating all sorts of headaches.
Yeah, I imagine it would be creating all kinds of headaches. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel bad for the people of Catalan. I don't like the idea of
The people of Catalan,
I
you're
don't
already,
like the-
you're already naming them as their separate nation. It's
Well,
it's
why
comfortable.
not?
It
That's
feels
how they
right.
like- that's how they want to be represented.
It feels right.
I don't know. I mean, if someone wants to, if someone really feels that it's that important for them to have their independence and to secede from whatever country they're in, okay. Wouldn't we get more out of this by being friends who trade and have common interests than, me sending soldiers in to occupy?
Well, they've had that for the last 50 years, and look what it's got us, Dean.
They haven't had their independence and their own rights.
No,
of
what I mean is
self-determination.
there's been free trade between all these regions for 50 years, and look where it's led us.
Yeah, peace.
It's led us to the point where they want to fucking secede.
Yeah, but there's also been peace in Europe. People haven't fought so much. One European Union, does it matter if Catalonia is an independent,
When
autonomous
people
region
say
or
they
not?
haven't fought so much. I mean, there was, there's the whole Yugoslavia breakdown that happened. There's
Not a part of the
There's been
EU?
issues. There's been
Yeah.
some issues.
Former Soviet state, so
No, it
taking
wasn't.
that what you will.
It wasn't a Soviet state.
No, not at all.
You want to be careful with that.
Fair enough.
Former communist.
Well, it's
state.
funny because there was an American stupid, a rather dense American politician that also said that the former Soviet state of Yugoslavia, and then someone pointed out, said, no, they were never a Soviet state.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Well, good times.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just looking at the updates, and yeah, things may be quite hectic right now.
I imagine they will heat up. Like this seems to me to be pouring petrol on fire. You know, you didn't have to bus in foreign police officers from Madrid to oppress someone who's already like.
But
we
as
feel
I
oppressed,
said,
we wanna
are
leave.
they? I mean, I get what you're saying. What you're saying about them being foreign, they're from a different part of Spain. Would we consider Eastern Staters coming over here to police us foreign?
Probably. Did the people of Virginia consider the soldiers from the Union to be foreign? Yeah, they did at the end. I don't know. People don't like the idea of you know. I mean, preferably we were talking about this in the car. Preferably, I would like it if the police in Victoria Park all lived in Victoria Park.
Yeah.
You know? If they were locals, they were part of the community. That seems like the best way, so that everyone knows each other. It's not like they're coming in like it's you share the same interests, common ground. I don't know. Anyway, social commentary time, maybe.
So, over the last 2 days of work, I was very unproductive because I was keyboard warrioring.
Really?
Warrioring.
Good stuff, by the way. That's usually my domain.
So I ended up finishing the week feeling really bad because I made a bad situation work even worse because I didn't do work I should have been doing. Not helping my
Because
cause.
someone was wrong on the internet. Was that right?
Yeah.
Someone was wrong.
And his
On the
job
internet.
to make sure they knew.
So I watch a community that's called Aussie Arcade that is a forum for people who are interested in pinball machines, arcade machines, consoles, and so forth. And they obviously have threads for various on-topic subjects, but they have a general chat.
Is there a schism in the Aussie Arcade group?
Well, depends how you look at it. Basically, the majority of people who are on that site are between 40 and 60 and white. So anyway, someone put up
And male?
and male, yes.
Yeah, just thought I'd check that because I figured
Cis white males.
it was an
Mostly.
assumption on my behalf. I didn't want to assume their gender.
It was a fair assumption.
Well, I checked.
Someone put up a thread entitled, "Did you receive a text from the Yes campaign?"
Oh, wow. They're bringing politics into the arcade
yes,
realm.
and they weren't happy about getting an unsolicited text. And so, you got the typical, a lot of responses along the lines of, "Yep, got one, two. Thanks to that message, it helped me make up my mind. This shit forced down my throat doesn't do their cause any good."
Forcing down their throat again. They go for that terminology so quickly.
It's funny how a lot of people on the No Campaign side use that euphemism for some reason. I giggle every
They
time I see it come
immediately
up.
go to it.
I
Immediately.
don't know. See, you know how we have the you can opt out of receiving random phone calls thing. Like you can put yourself on a do not call register, but you got to put yourself on there every
this was
year.
weird actually because I was listening to another podcast, well may we say, and they were talking about it. Apparently they didn't get it from a register. They used a random phone number generation tool and just sent out these messages literally at random.
Yeah, I'm still not okay with that.
Yeah, but they didn't use a register. They didn't get they didn't get someone's phone
To
number.
put this into Corey Benani is also going to have 1 million robocalls dialing out for the No campaign. Not okay with that either.
Depends on who's paying for it. I'm going to be
No,
honest.
people have a right to privacy. Don't fucking contact me if
Look,
I'm not
dude,
interested in your shit.
We've got these devices that make you incredibly contactable, and now we're putting laws on who can contact. It's like if you don't want to be contacted, don't have the most sort of convenient device that can ever be used to contact you with it. It's a weird situation to say.
It's not a
hey,
weird situation.
for God's sake, don't fucking call me on my phone.
It's unsolicited.
I mean,
if I
for
give
me,
someone my
to be
phone
honest,
number, that's
if-
one thing.
To be honest, if someone calls me at all on my phone, I consider it an imposition. Text me for fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if I get a call from a private number or a number I don't know, don't even answer it. Not interested.
No, I don't. I totally screen it. If you got one of these amazing devices, it's very easy to screen these things. So I don't have a problem. Certainly, a text message.
Well,
is like,
I mean, the main theme that was going through this thread was basically, I received, this unsolicited text, therefore I'm going to punish the campaign. And I felt,
I think he was already going to punish that campaign.
well, this was
You know
quite a
what-
few people having this similar sort of thought pattern. So I thought, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to take a note out of Dean's book and try and reach out to these fair-minded forum members and try and...
How did that go?
With reason and rationale.
It went actually
You lost
quite
2 days' work
It
and
took me a long time to form my post to attack their logic rather than which way they were choosing to vote. But basically, I responded along the lines of deciding not to buy a vendor's products or donate to a charity as a form of personal protest at receiving an unsolicited text message is an action that doesn't have any impact to any unrelated party's individual rights. However, making an arbitrary decision to vote in a manner to punish a campaigning group because of an unsolicited text when it concerns the issue of whether a right enjoyed by the majority should be extended to all, which affects real people in our community, seems rather petty and selfish. Surely, if the majority was voting on an issue affecting your rights, you would hope they would consider the matter with more seriousness and integrity. Surely sensible people in a modern democracy can separate the actions of campaigning groups and the merits of the arguments when decision making.
That seems very fair-minded, Franco.
How many
what was-
fuck yous did you get back in response to that?
Well, initially, because obviously...
How many death threats?
Yeah.
It actually went down quite well, because the first idiotic response I got was, so you're saying people must say yes? And I responded in very clinical terms. My comment was constructive criticism of the logic being employed by making a voting decision purely based on the actions of a campaigning group rather than the merits of the issue one is voting upon. So I got lots of likes and no one could really counter my logic, so I didn't really hear anything back. So thanks, Dean, for giving me the inspiration to reach out to my not so fair-minded
I like to
fellow
know
brothers.
why people, when someone does something doesn't make sense to me, I like to know why. I don't have to, like, if they give me all their reasoning and I still don't get it, that's fine. At least I've got their reasoning.
Apparently their reason is they got an unsolicited text message and that's enough reason to vote no.
Nah, I think they were
Yeah.
going to vote that way.
I also
anyway.
think that they were all, like, people were looking for an excuse to vote no. and which means that if you in a an anonymous mail-in ballot, it's not necessarily anonymous, but in a mail-in ballot, I don't think you even need the excuse. You were just going to vote no.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe this really did turn them. This was the issue. An unsolicited text
No,
message.
I think you're
was
right.
enough
They
to
were
turn them.
probably close to wanting to vote no, but they might have just not voted at all.
Well,
They might have been like, you know what, I don't want to be involved in this. And then
So this
people,
was the
people
trigger.
pressure them. And they're like, you know what, fuck you. Now I am going to get involved.
Well, I mean, that wasn't the end of this debate because it actually spewed into a further area of contention where some of the
This is like your very own Gamergate.
some of the
kind of thing.
elder forum members started using some un-PC terms,
Oh, really?
and then got their nose out of joint when people got offended by their use of such terms. So
What were the un-PC terms they were using?
the N-word and faggots.
Right.
The N-word?
Yeah.
How did the N-word come into a discussion on gay rights?
Maybe they don't like gay niggers.
It wasn't so much that. I'm just trying to pull up
I don't know.
the post now.
That's quite amazing. It's like, that's the word they go to. We're discussing same-sex marriage. Straight to the nigger.
I've had someone say something
Oh, here we
before
go.
along the lines of, I'm sick of this faggotry, like making it like an action rather than... I was like, what? Is that a word? Have you made up a word?
Where was it? So I can't find the exact post now, but because one of the forum, and I'll read out one of his posts, which gives you a flavour of his. He in a previous post he used the word faggot, so someone obviously was. He goes, you can't be serious saying you are offended by faggot, really? Do you even know what the word means? It seems not. A faggot is a bundle of sticks.
Oh,
so he went down that
fuck's
path where he was
sake.
being facetious, he was being a douche.
He
And
said
then-
it with the intention to
he
offend
did.
someone.
And
He
he goes,
said it with the intention to
as a
offend
closure,
No, see, I think you should own it. If you're going to use words, and I will generally only use them in jest when I'm mocking someone else for saying them, but if you're going to use them and people get offended by what you're saying,
And when you're saying it, you're looking for a reaction, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
looking for a reaction.
yeah, I'm looking to make them
He
look
put it
stupid
in
by doing
there
it. Yeah. And
for a
but you got
reaction.
to own that. If someone calls you out, they go,
Yeah.
you're just saying they get a reaction. Like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but,
A
okay.
bundle of woods. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
yeah. So basically, he and then someone says, "Oh, you're probably the sort of person that uses the N word." He goes, "Sure do," and he was pretty rather cavalier about it, and basically was suggesting that's just part of Australian culture about using words to knock each other and stuff. And basically, this guy that was very cavalier with his usage of politically incorrect terminology is actually he's starting up a pinball company. He's been making the pinball machine in China, in his factory in China, about to launch, and thought that he could just, because he's got a reputation of just speaking his mind and so forth, and he had quite a few people coming to his defense about him being a great guy and helping the community. It's like, I mean, you're thinking, well, hold on, he can be a great guy and a dickhead at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive.
He can be a great guy if you're talking about pinball stuff, and a complete dickhead on all those subjects. Yeah.
Well, I think that's important, though. I mean, it's important to remember in life, people exist as more than just a single definition. Someone isn't just a gay man, right? They're a person. And this guy isn't just a bigot.
He's also a
person who
pinball
is a bigot.
aficionado.
Yeah.
He's also
there's
a
more
pinball
to him
aficionado,
than just this one label. He's not just a cunt, Jason. He's a cunt who knows a bit about pinball.
Someone called him out saying, absolutely BS comments by Mike, even lamer attempts by people trying to claim it's part of the Aussie culture. Please, Mike, explain to me how using the N-word in Vancouver wasn't racist. And this guy, Mike, responds back, you don't know Australians or Australia. You don't know nothing but American wanker through and through. It's like, so you won't own it saying, yeah, I was being racist.
You know
trying
what?
to double down
I'll
and defend
wear
it.
that you're allowed to call anyone a wanker. That's Australian culture. I reckon you can call anyone a wanker.
What I found the most interesting, though, at the end of all
Probably
this...
true.
It's probably
begin
true.
with.
I mean, yeah, it's unlikely. Like at some point in their life,
It's unlike... And if
maybe not now.
you may strike across
Maybe
someone
now.
and says, you know what, I'm completely asexual, I've never wanked. Well, you might have to own it at that point. and
What
say,
if
"I'm
they're
sorry."
like, actually, you disrespectful shit, I'm a eunuch. I wish I was a wanker, but I can't because someone cut my dick off. Hi, I'm Theon Greyjoy.
Here we go. I found the
Free
original...
Theon.
Yeah.
Hashtag free Theon.
I found the original post where he responded because someone said to him, I bet you use the N-word for non-Anglo-Americans too. And he goes, sure do. Why don't you ask the people I met in Vancouver? Stop being so politically correct and try calling a spade a spade. Same as when I get called a guelo here in China. That is a derogatory term that loosely translates to white ghost. When a Chinese person calls me that, I respond with slope to respond to them.
Oh,
It's-
wow.
It's all relative.
This man's doing business in China.
And a lot of people need to get over
I
this
believe it's
political
slope
correct
land.
bull.
My God. Yeah, I mean, just because someone else uses a derogatory term doesn't mean the term about you doesn't mean you turn around and use one. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I responded to that, not only his comment in particular, but that general air of this defensive-ness of casual Australian racism with a spade is a spade except when it's casual racism, then it is anything but.
You can dig a hole in it, though.
He should have turned around and said, look, Guilo's our word for us. We use Guilo when I'm... I call Dean Guilo all the time.
I use Guilo
Fucking
when I'm talking to my... I one of my best mates in the world. Yeah. I don't want to mention him on the fucking show by name, but sure. I use that when I'm talking to him. But we're very racist at each other. But that's part of our friendship, and we're both okay with that. His kid is just learning to talk, and he does and he's like, we're on the chat. He's like, he's making an impression of his Uncle Dean. He's just like a white man.
But, I mean...
Which I find endearing. I mean, other people would find very insulting.
Possibly.
Surely the moment your friendship soured, usage of those terms would no longer
fuck
apply.
it. Yeah.
That's right.
And if we were in front of other people, probably wouldn't. Yeah, you'd censor it. But
So, so this character Mike has started playing the victim now. He's trundled out that he's got a Taiwanese wife, as if somehow that...
Some of my best friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I know a really alt-right dude who is married to I don't know if she's Taiwanese or Singaporean, but he's really fucking racist, and he has an Asian wife.
Yeah.
Those two things are not
Once
mutually
again,
exclusive.
not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, just because
They think they get the immunity idol when they marry someone of another race.
But and I was like,
Yeah, that's it. I've got an Asian wife. This is
Yeah.
awesome. I can call them anything I want now.
the problem is this thread was moving way too fast for me to spend the time to actually come up with very clever...
You're being far too thoughtful on this.
and it took up a lot of time, and I just go, like...
I will say this in defense of Mike. Although he is a dick, I like knowing that people are dicks. I'm okay with him saying stuff because it's like, oh, he's an asshole. And I can then treat him accordingly. It's the people who are like subversively racist that are the problems.
I've got no problem with him being a dick. I just don't like now he's playing the victim. No, you chose to use.
Yeah. No, no, yeah.
Yeah,
making the
there's
claim-
consequences
Yeah.
for your words.
this
Absolutely, yeah.
misnomer that freedom of speech is a freedom of space. And I can say whatever I want, and you're not allowed to judge me
We're
for
not
it.
going
That's
to
not what
lock you.
freedom of
We're not
speech
going to
is.
lock you up for using
Yeah.
the N word, but we're going to judge you for using the N word. You know what I mean?
I used it earlier. Do I get judged on that?
You get judged.
Okay.
You get judged.
Because now
Damn
people
it.
are chiming in and going, oh, why do you want to try and tear someone's business down? It's going, no one forced him to say it. Because now he was coming to Australia, and one of the venues cancelled his appearance because of the comments he was making on him.
On this, oh wow!
And so
But they're probably on there themselves.
so he's playing the victim now. It's like, well, hold on. You made the comments, you bragged about it,
Yeah.
and now you're crying that you're the victim.
He might also find that the people who run the company happen to be, African Americans, or they might be Chinese, or they may be gay.
Maybe there
He
are.
might be throwing around.
Maybe
all
there's
that-
hardcore African American hardcore pinball aficionados that go, you know what? I'm willing to overlook the N word because he creates such a good product. There's a whole lot that probably won't be.
Yeah.
It's like they'll just fuck it.
The
I'm
other
not
thing
gonna
was
deal
we
with
had
this
these fanboys coming out and going, defending him, saying, not actually addressing any of his stupid comments, but just saying, Mike's a really nice guy and he's really helped the community. It's going, okay. You're not really addressing his comments though, are you? You just, what point is that? What relevance?
guy. Exactly.
The final thing I'll mention on this was another side aspect of this whole conversation was in regards to the N-word. We had seemingly, I was a bit incredulous with these people even asking the question, but seemingly asking the question of why is it okay for, in terms of they don't understand, this is what they were trying to purport in all seriousness, was why is it okay for black people to use the N-word amongst themselves, but it's racist when white people do? And like for me, I was like, are you kidding me? You really don't know? Or was this just I'm a bit more exposed to the world than they are?
I feel like the problem is if you, as a white man, say to a black man, my nigger, it implies ownership. It's like you're saying, you're my slave.
Yeah.
That's the problem right there. You can't do it without people getting the interpretation that, oh, that's really fucking inappropriate. In fact, you just have to say it out loud one time and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have even said that.
May not ever say it again.
Yes.
Especially if you say it to a black man at that
Yeah,
time.
like it's just not.
He may.
It's just, he's
may
not gonna
end
be,
you.
even if he's your friend, he's gonna be like, dude, like, come on.
Yeah.
In all my time in Australia, I've only ever seen that word used in an odious manner to mean utter.
I've used it twice on the show.
In terms of odious
When you're
contempt.
using it to refer to
Other
something,
people, I don't know.
something
I'm
that's
saying,
actually
I've had
refer
no-
to other people.
I've never seen. Yeah,
Damn it, Jason, you're not making me look good here.
no.
I think you'd be
You
hard.
keep using that word, Dean. You just keep using.
I think you'd be hard pressed to sort of feign that. Oh, I didn't really know what the intention of the word meant in any country.
You couldn't get around it. Yeah,
Yeah.
You'd have to know what it implies.
And I'm a bit incredulous that people don't understand. You know, there is a complexity of how the word is used in the African American culture. There's not a straightforward, this is okay, this is not. There's complexities in their culture. There's some African Americans who hate the word, don't want it used. I don't even understand it myself,
was-
but I realize enough to know that there's no scenario where it's okay, where I'm not really portraying myself in the best light in using the term.
It came up as a bit of a discussion on a podcast I listened to, which is Politically Reactive, which is H. Kamal Bell and Harry Kingdom. I can't pronounce his last name. It's an absolute mouthful. Anyway, one black, one African American, one Indian American. And the African American basically used the phrase "my nigger" to him. They're good friends.
Yeah.
Use this, and the guy said, I'm not comfortable using that. He goes, I'm pretty black, and I'm not comfortable using that back.
Oh,
He said,
really?
yeah. He was like, I don't think I have the immunity on that word. and Kamal Bell was basically, I don't think you do it.
Yeah. For all the shit I have to put up with, yeah,
That's
too bad.
right.
This is the one thing I get to do that you can't.
That's right. Fucking deal with it.
They actually touched on that in the first episode of Atlanta, where they had a white character use that expression with the Ern, and then Ern sort of called him out on it in another scene where he was with his cousin, and the guy didn't use the phrase when retelling the story. Where he originally
told the same story again and didn't say it.
it was an interesting sort of social commentary in that show that I thought was quite neatly done.
I don't think it'll ever be okay to say it.
No, it's not meant to be.
No, I'm just putting it out there. I'm pretty sure it's just not okay.
Not until certain racial minorities that have been subjugated have had their turn on the top. and have been subjugating the white race for a long, long time, or something like that.
But the
Which obviously the alt-right thinks is happening right now.
We're being cut, Jason.
Completely. Yeah.
I don't feel any white aggrievement by not being able to use that term.
No. It's not putting me out in any way.
No.
However, I'm going to fully embrace using Maguilo from now on. You're Maguilo, D.
Maguire.
Maguire.
What's up with Maguire? Maguire. Gizmo.
I mean, do you really think that there are people in Australia who don't understand what that sort of
I've never
paradigm?
been. Yeah, some people who talk about it enough. I'm thinking I'm also of that same thing. Are you deliberately being ignorant? You deliberately
Because we had
being
some
ignorant
chumps
on
throwing
this,
in about reverse racism, and I'm going, really?
Yeah.
No, it's deliberate. I mean, again,
There might be some people
both
that are
times
that
I said it
stupid.
on the show, I felt really like it was not a good idea, but B, it was worth the laugh.
It's at the
And we
point.
had a 3-hour workshop with Dean to explain.
Yeah, it's at the point where you reflexive, even when you're using it in reference to another thing.
Yeah,
just
it's like,
illustrate
oh,
it,
this is not a
you
good
reflexively almost say the N word.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just
Even before the show, when I was going to bring up this topic, I was thinking to myself, will I say the N word or the actual word? And I thought, well, the N word sounds very clinical, and it's like I'm almost tiptoeing around the issue. But I personally I can't say the word.
yeah.
I just-
These subjects come up regularly on like a few shows that I watch, like the Young Turks and stuff like that. And there's a couple of hosts on there. And some of them, because they're usually saying it to quote someone else.
Yeah.
They're quoting someone saying it, and they can't say it themselves. And I'm going like, yeah, it's that uncomfortable. You just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I think in some ways it's good that there's an uncomfortability with that term because of the oppression it reflects through the
Yeah.
centuries.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. I don't like giving words power. I have this thing where I swear people are always like, oh, you shouldn't say that word.
But this is a perfect
like,
illustration that words do have a certain amount of fucking
They
power.
do, but you can deconstruct that power.
But
Yes. I don't
Which is-
think we-
which is a
do you want
large-
to take the N word back for us?
No, no.
Dean? Is that what you
No,
want to do?
Well, I said, a large part of why it is so, like so many black people are proud to call each other my nigger, is because they're taking the power away from that word.
Yeah, I get it.
And,
I get it.
and I support the hell out of that.
And that's them doing it.
I would never, unfortunately, feel comfortable saying to any of my black friends, "Yo," and I've said it 3 times in the show. That's
I'm not
my-
going to say it
that's
again.
my limit.
I'm not
That's
going to
my
say it
limit.
again.
But
I agree. In some respects, my nihilistic side of me says it's just a word. But
well, it's not just about. I don't want to empower those that use it hatefully.
Yeah.
I want to actually take the power away from it. Like if you're going to go around calling people whatever, I'm going to use that word to mock you.
That's just like nobody likes violence, blah blah blah, and all that kind of thing. But
Some people love violence, Jason.
you get a white supremacist, and this is one thing that happened. I was hearing about the Juggalo March. You get a white supremacist that goes down, and he's down there throwing up the Nazi salutes, throwing out the N word every now and then. Eventually, someone took a swing at him and fucking knocked him on his ass. It's like, if you're going to go out there and say that shit, sometimes violence is going to happen to you.
I think he wanted violence to happen to him. though.
Well, no, well, maybe.
That's why
I don't
you
know.
do-
There was
that's why
footage
you
of
do
it,
that.
and he didn't look very happy.
Yeah.
Someone had a YouTube
probably
video.
underestimated how much a punch in the head hurts.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Words have power, Magualos. I think it's time to.
Probably the non-existent Chinese people listening to the show would be wincing at your usage of that term,
I don't
Jason.
think they will. I think they'd be fine with it.
Huh?
I don't think it's that racist.
I also got called.
I don't
When I
think
worked in Hong Kong for a long
Yeah.
time, you did get called. I don't think it doesn't have the same power because it's not like
You were never oppressed by anyone
it's
from
not
China.
like we're impressed by China. Yeah, if anything, they've been impressed by the West a lot more.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fine. If you want to use this, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can cop it. I do remember it was widespread, and sure it may have some racist overtones, but I didn't feel particularly oppressed by the word.
Yeah, I went to China for a month, and if people were being racist, they were being awfully nice about it because I felt well treated the whole time I was there.
That's right. Then again, I have seen the way like Hong Kong was an interesting. You had you got the Chinese nationals there, and you have a massive, essentially underclass of Filipino workers in the city as well. Now I've seen some direct racism applied to them, which was like that's what I mean. It's like
Also in Saudi Arabia, anywhere where Filipinos come to work,
so
is
all
made,
these
it's
guest
not great.
workers that come in and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not like it's not a racist society. There's definitely there. I just don't feel that we're the ones feeling the brunt of that racism when it's...
Well, there's a lot of the white agreement on this thread was sort of insinuating that only white people can be racist. And it's like,
No.
And you don't need to really bring it up. It's a moot point.
Yeah.
It's like, it's you just don't seem to be able to reconcile that there's a huge racist issue with white nations. Well, predominantly white nations like Australia and America who have...
Yeah, we're the remnants of colonial nations. Yeah. It's like...
And yeah, it's an uncomfortable topic and we have to own it. That's part of our history. It's still ingrained in our institutions.
It's not like anyone's forcing to own it like the way the Germans were forced to own the Holocaust and things like that. Yeah. You cannot express certain opinions in Germany legally. And they've gone to that extent, whether that's a good thing or not. But it's not like we've had that forced on us. We just so there's some cultural norms. Just don't be a dick.
Well, the other thing is you can...
Hang on. In Australia, the cultural norm is be a dick.
Actually, you're right.
But
that is our culture.
Be a larrikin dick. Yeah. Don't be like a serious dick.
If you're going to be a dick, you better be fucking funny.
Yeah, right? You better be a funny dick. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have trouble differentiating that. You can accept that Australia has a casual racism problem and we have institutional racism, but that doesn't necessarily make you as an individual racism because you admit those things.
Yeah.
They think they admit they admit they're being a racist at the same time.
Well, because they probably know they have been. At some points.
This may be true. Both can be true.
I think it's interesting. I think subconsciously people are probably mostly racist. Like it takes some presence of mind to actually pull yourself up on it.
Of course.
I remember when I was living in Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh, we've gone over this in the show before, but there's very segregated neighborhoods. There's black neighborhoods, there's white neighborhoods. And when you realize you're in a minority on the street, I started freaking out. It's like, hang on. And then my, conscious mind was like, why are you freaking out? This is irrational.
Yeah.
There's nothing is going to happen. But, the subconscious is like, crazy. I might get shot. And then I realized it's all the crazy white men with guns that's likely to shoot me. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm out.
Done.
I'm also good, both on white privilege and on show.
All right. Thank you for listening. I've been Franco.
I've been Igualo.